Chapter 10. Changes in Art, Literature and Architecture. Most of the kings in the ancient times patronized different forms of art, literature and architecture. This was the reason that Indian art and architecture has always been admired by the people all across the world. Since ancient times, different schools of art such as the Mathura school, the Gandhara school, the Rajput school and the Mughal school of art have flourished. During the period of British rule, many European artists began to visit India. They brought with them new styles and techniques in different forms of art and architectures. In this chapter, you will study about the important changes in art, literature and architecture in India during the colonial period. Painting, the form of art which was influenced the most by the British style and technique, was painting. The styles and techniques brought by the British are called imperial traditions. These painters popularized the technique of oil painting. Features of imperial tradition. Realistic landscape painting was one of the important features of imperial tradition. The artists produced real and lifelike paintings. They could be scenes of nature, crowded streets, and monuments. They used the technique of perspective, in which objects which were near appeared bigger, and objects which were far away appeared smaller. Another important feature was that of portrait painting. Rich and powerful people, both British and Indian, commissioned painters to draw life-size portraits. Many Indian Nawabs had their portraits painted by European artists. The Indian tradition. Many Indian kings also patronized painting and encouraged local traditions. Tipu Sultan commissioned local artists to cover the walls of his palace with murals. In these, the artists drew scenes of Tipu and Hyder Ali's victories over the British. Popular art. With the passage of time, the number of painters outside the court was larger than the number of court painters. The tradition of painting was particularly popular in Bengal, especially in Kalighat. Here, scroll paintings were very popular. The painters painted mythological themes and images of gods and goddesses. The style was non-realistic and non-lifelike. Gradually, the painters were influenced by their surroundings and began producing paintings on social and political themes. With the rise of nationalism, the paintings began to carry nationalist messages. Religious symbols began to be used to express nationalist ideas. In some paintings, India was depicted as Bharat Mata, a goddess. In this way, painters began to draw different themes to inspire people against British rule. National art. Indian style of painting took a new turn in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Raja Ravi Verma created a distinct style of his own. He was a master of oil painting and created realistic images. He generally painted themes from Indian mythology and from the epics. The tradition of painting was always popular in Bengal. Here, Abanindranath Tagore created a style of painting that was different from that of Raja Ravi Verma. Nandalal Bose, a student of Abanindranath Tagore, painted scenes from ancient legends. He used shading to give a three-dimensional effect of the figures in his painting. Photography. In India, the art of photography became popular in the mid-19th century. Photographers from Europe traveled to India and began promoting and popularizing photography. One of the photographers was Felice Beto. He photographed India during the revolt of 1857. He and the other photographers of this period, especially Samuel Bourne, were more keen to capture the moments of British military triumphs and record diversity of India. The theme of photography went through a change when the Indians began to identify their national identity. British and European photographers continued to show a colonial mindset, but the Indian photographers began to record the rising tide of nationalism. Literature. Earlier, the Indian literature was based on religious pursuit and mythology, but it became mature during the 19th and 20th century. Most of it was not related to the present. Now, literature adopted secular and national themes. The individual became important and his day-to-day problems and struggles became the central theme of the literary works of this period. New forms of writing, such as novels, short stories, dramas, and essays, became popular. Some great writers in the regional languages were Munshi Premchand and Bharatendu Harishchandra in Hindi, Muhammad Iqbal in Urdu, Rabindranath Tagore, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, and Sarat Chandra Chatterjee in Bengali, Fakir Mohan Senapati in Odia, Hemchandra Barua and Lakshminath Besbarao in Assamese, Hari Narayan Apte and Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar in Marathi, Kumaran Assam and Ballathal K. Narayana Menon in Malayalam, Gurak Sada Appa Rao in Telugu, K. Venkatappa Gowda Puttappa in Kannada, and Subramanya Bharati in Tamil. Rabindranath Tagore's song Jana Gana Mana became the national anthem of our country after independence. Growth of the press. The British were the first to start newspapers in India. During the course of the 19th century and later, a powerful Indian press grew both in English and in the vernaculars. With the growth of political consciousness and the beginning of political activities by Indians in the second half of the 19th century, there was a sudden increase in the number of Indian newspapers. While some English newspapers owned by the British were supporters of the British rule, most others, both in English and the vernaculars, voiced the aspirations of the Indians. They gave voice to the grievances of the Indians and their demands. During the freedom struggle, they were a powerful force to mobilize the people. But most of the owners and editors of the newspapers were persecuted at the hands of the British, and many a time jailed also for supporting the nationalist movement. Music and dance. Music and dance also developed as fine arts during the period of colonial rule. Both Hindustani and Carnatic music prospered. In Bengal, Rabindra Sangeet was popular. Film music gained popularity from the 1930s. Dance was popularized by Rabindranath Tagore and Uday Shankar. Architecture. Indian style of architecture was also influenced by the British style of architecture. The colonial architecture exhibited itself through both institutional and utilitarian buildings. The Victoria Memorial was built to commemorate the zenith of the British Empire in India. Madras and Bombay also felt the impact of colonial architecture. The University of Bombay was established in 1857. It was one of the first educational institutions to be established. The Gateway of India was completed in 1924. The British constructed monumental buildings primarily to reflect the glory of their empire. The majestic Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, formerly known as Victoria Terminus, is one such edifice.